Good morning to all my students of class 11. Today we will take up yet another poem in your syllabus, and the name of the poem, as you can see on the screen, is Desiderata, and this is a poem written by famous American poet Max Ehrmann. The year of composition of this poem is 1927. So before we begin with the text of the poem and before we begin to understand line by line what the poem is trying to tell us, let us at first take a look at details about the poet and the poem, and after that we will give a quick reading to the text of the poem and then go on to understand it line by line. So let's begin. So on your screen now you can see the photograph, the real photograph of Max Ehrmann, the poet of this poem, and this is Max Ehrmann, and let's read a little bit about the poet. So on your screen now, as you can see, Max Ehrmann was born in 1872 and died in 1945. He is known chiefly for his inspirational poem Desiderata. Most of his works are spiritual in nature, and this poem is no exception. In fact, it is his most famous poem. It's an inspirational poem, a motivational poem, a poem with a moral lesson, a poem of advice to all in general, and therefore we may consider this to be a didactic poem. Now, most of his works are spiritual in nature. A group of friends and the congenial environment in which he lived were the main motivating forces behind his works. He was an attorney by profession. Attorney means a lawyer. So he was a lawyer by profession, and he worked in his brother's manufacturing concern. Concern means company. But devoted some hours to writing every night. Then he left the job to take up writing as a whole-time career. So the next part of about the poet is also something which you get to read in your textbook. If you see your textbook, you will see that just before the poem there is something given about the poet and the poem. So you may relate to that. So I have, instead of going through what you can see now on your screen, I have exactly the page taken from your textbook about the poet and about the poem. So let's try to see what is said there. So before that, let me tell you once again, this poem was written in 1927, Max Ehrmann's didactic poem, a morally instructional piece, Desiderata. And this word Desiderata, you must be wondering what it means. Well, it is Latin for desired things. So you must have seen in the thumbnail of this video that I have already mentioned desired things, and within brackets I have also mentioned Latin. It offers a code for life, emphasizing tolerance, inclusion, and optimism. The poem is full of wise sayings and gentle guidance. So you can see when you read this poem that it has somewhere a connection with Rudyard Kipling's famous poem If. You will see that just as Rudyard Kipling, many of you must have already read If, you will find a marked similarity between the tone of that particular poem written by Rudyard Kipling and this poem. You will notice that here also it's a poem that gives advice to the reader. The reader is being urged to find peace within themselves and project this inner peace in their dealings with the world. So what exactly is Max Ehrmann trying to say? He's trying to instruct us as readers of his poem that we must not look for peace in the world. First and foremost, we must try to look for peace within ourselves. And once we find peace within ourselves, we can find the world around us peaceful as well. So everything depends on how you feel. If you are happy, if you are peaceful, if you are calm, then everything around you seems to be working like a perfect clockwork. But if you are disturbed, if you are mentally troubled, then the world around you comes crashing down. So we see the poem endorsing an attitude to accept the world in all its entirety. So the world is full of positive things as well as negative things. So we must accept the world just as it is, with all its contrasts. So Desiderata, next thing said here is Desiderata is a prose poem that retains poetic elements like imagery and emotion, but in prose or natural speech form. So here it is explained very clearly. This is modern poetry, modern American literature, and please remember, prose poetry means a poem which has the heart of a poem but the looks of a prose. You can say it has the heart of a poem but the looks of or the appearance of a prose. The lines are uneven, there may not be any rhyme scheme, and you may not find exact rhythm when you read out the poem. It sounds more like a prose rather than a piece of poetry. So that is what is called prose poetry. Now there is no undue embellishment in rhythm or tone. In Desiderata's case, its beauty stems solely from its clear meaning and tender intent. So much for this. And here you can see on your screen that they have compared the wisdom of this poem, or the wisdom generated, the motivation, the inspirations generated by this poem with Rudyard Kipling's famous poem If. I'm sure many of you must have read this poem, Rudyard Kipling's If. Now here, as I said, I have taken the pages from your textbook, and you can see that you have Max Ehrmann's description about the poet and then about the poem. So once again, the same thing you can see on your screen. You can relate to your textbook, you can open your textbook and you can go through the page, you can read through whatever is given here. All that he had done, all that he had achieved is given here. And his most noted work, I'm coming to that paragraph, his most noted work, Desiderata, was written in 1927. However, the prose poem gave him more fame posthumously. That means he became famous for this poem after he died than it did during his lifetime. It has been published in numerous magazines and anthologies, translated into several foreign languages and reproduced in poster form. It was released as a record by Warner Brothers in 1971. Although Ehrmann once claimed he wrote this bit of prose for himself, its appeal has proven to be universal. So Ehrmann had once said that he wrote it for himself rather than for the world, but then what is written in it obviously has universal appeal. So Desiderata means desired things, is an inspirational poem by nature, offers a simple, positive credo for life. It focuses on the idea that people should see the world with both its joys and its troubles, like I said already, with hope and placidity. Placidity means calm or peace of mind. It reminds people to listen to their inner voice and to understand that all people are struggling with their own troubles and could use help and compassion from others. So that's about the poem and a little bit about the poet. The rest you can read from the workbook, from your textbook, and make yourself comfortable with this poem's background and also about the poet. Now let's give a reading to the text. We will read through the text first once and then go deeper into the poem, trying to understand it line by line. So on your screen you can see the page taken from your textbook, and it's poem number 7 in your textbook, Desiderata, written by Max Ehrmann. I am just reading out the text, please follow. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It's a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive Him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and unbroken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. So that's the text of the poem. Let's read a little bit about the literary devices used in this poem. Being a prose poem, Desiderata does not use figurative language and traditional literary devices. So there is a difference from other poems by other poets. Even then, the following literary devices are found to be there in the poem. What are they? One is simile. The line is, it is a perennial as the grass. Stanza 4. Then alliteration, where alphabets in successive words are found to be the same. If you compare yourself with others, R sound. Especially do not feign affection. So F sound. So students, let us now try to understand line by line what this poem contains. And I must say that the lines are very simple, written in simple English, and therefore not very difficult to understand. There is no inner meaning except that it's just a general, you can say a general statement or a series of points jotted down by the poet as advice for all of us. Go placidly amid the noise and haste. Where you see the world is full of noise, people are always in a rush, but you must not do that. You must go peacefully, calmly. Placidly means without too much of movement. Go calmly amid the noise and haste. When you join the world, when you leave home in the morning to go to work or go to the school or college or university or any kind of activity, when you leave home and step out into the world, just face the world with a peace of mind and a tranquility or calm attitude. And remember what peace there may be in silence. So always say to yourself that you will be at peace with yourself if you maintain silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. As far as possible, try to be good to everyone around you and be in good terms with people around you. The poet is not advising you to surrender yourself to others, not to exactly do as they tell you, but at the same time try to be in good terms with everyone, yet do not lose your individuality. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. So when you have to speak out, speak whatever you feel is the truth. Be firm in your approach. Speak it out quietly but clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Don't be in a hurry to just give your opinions. Listen to everyone. Listen to the people around you, your acquaintances, your friends, your relatives, your parents, everybody. Whoever holds a place in your life, listen to them. Even the ones who seem to be very dull, who have a kind of ignorance, you feel that they are not very knowledgeable, still, everyone in his or her life has his or her story. So be patient and listen. Be a good listener. Don't just be giving opinions of your own. Just listen. Sometimes you need to listen. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. So avoid such people who are loud, who are aggressive by nature, because they create confusion. They create confusion in your life. They will disturb you. Your mind will not be at peace with itself. You will be disturbed if you interact mostly with such people. And the next thing that the poet is advising is that do not compare yourself with others. You are unique in your own way. You are just a single piece. Remember, there is no duplicate of what you are. You are what you are. God has made you in every sense as a unique piece. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. Because if you start comparing, this is what is happening to us all the time. We see people around us and we try to copy them. We want to achieve what they have achieved. On a positive note, if such achievements are things which come out of hard work and such achievements are positive achievements, well and good. But sometimes we join the rat race of competition, and then if we are not able to achieve, we become jealous of others. So don't try to compare yourself with others. You may become vain. Vain means useless. Or you could possibly become very irritable, very bitter, because you are not able to achieve. So your temperament, is affected, and you become a person of bitter spirit. So don't do that. For always, there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Because in this world, always around you, there will be people who are greater than you, bigger than you, have achieved more in life than you, have more money than you, have more wealth, have a bigger house, a bigger car, bigger establishment. And then there will be people who are lesser than you. Just the opposite of what has been said earlier, that is greater and lesser. So don't try to relate yourself with those people. Just be what you are and be happy with yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. So enjoy what you have achieved in your life rather than looking at what others have achieved. Don't look down on anyone. Don't belittle anyone. Don't humiliate anyone because they are lesser than you. On the other hand, don't suffer from inferiority complex. When you see people more established, much more wealthier and happier and great achievers, don't feel jealous and don't be envious. So enjoy your achievements and enjoy your plans for the present as well as for the future, plans that you have in your life. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. Even if you are a sweeper, focus towards your work. That's your career. That's your occupation. That's how you earn your living. So whatever job you do, remember, no job is big or small. Time and again, great people have said this, but very few of us actually believe in it. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It's a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. So remember, whatever career you have, it's a real possession. It is something which you should be proud of. You possess it, it belongs to you. And remember, the changing times things are only getting difficult. Things are getting difficult in terms of building careers. So whatever you have and whatever you own, whatever you have achieved, and whatever profession, occupation you are in, be satisfied with that and focus on that so that you can do it or carry out your responsibilities in a much better way every time. Exercise caution in your business affairs. So if you are into any interaction, any transaction, any business transaction, always be careful. Exercise caution. Otherwise, if you take hasty steps, you may fail in business. Your transactions may go wrong. So be very careful. For the world is full of trickery, because the whole world is full of tricks. And you will be deceived if you are not careful. See, the same thing has been said in Rudyard Kipling's If. What the poet is saying here. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. So when the poet is saying this, that don't try to copy others, at the same time, he is also pointing out that whatever is virtuous, whatever is heroic, should always be followed and should always be copied. You should try to follow such people. Follow the footsteps of great people, great achievers, people who are good, people who are doing good to the world and humanity. So focus on those people who have true heroism, who have high ideals. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Be what you are. Don't try to pretend. Feign means to pretend. Don't try to pretend that you are being affectionate. You are, don't pretend your emotions, or rather, don't fake your emotions. Don't try to show fake emotions. Neither be cynical about love. So don't be mad for love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. This is the simile line. Remember that love is something, despite the dryness, despite the aridity, and despite all odds in life, love is something perennial, because it provides the required rainfall of happiness. It brings in the water in the dryness. So it is as perennial as the grass. Just as the grass remains green most of the time, so also is love. So love is evergreen. So don't be cynical about love, but at the same time appreciate that it is only love that makes this world go round. Had there been no love at all anywhere in human society, then this world would have ended long ago. Take kindly the counsel of the years, meaning to say, listen to the advice. Counsel means advice given by people who have seen many years of life. Those who are older, aged, they have seen life, they know more, they are more experienced than you. So take with kindness, accept the advice given by elders, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. So all those youthful qualities that you have, the negativities of youth, particularly the hastiness and the attitude to jump at everything and try to do everything thinking that it's easy, surrender yourself. Instead of doing like that, you should surrender yourself to the ones who are good advisors, the ones who provide positive advice for you. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. So you should have a strong mentality that if you face sudden misfortune, you should not break down. Rather, you should be able to undergo any such mental trauma and come out of it. So be prepared to face sudden misfortunes in life, because life is full of ups and downs. There are many a times in life you will have many downs that will try to crush you, break you down, but don't give up. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. So, when you face any kind of misfortune, don't try to think negative. Negative thoughts actually destroy us. People become prone to committing suicide or taking drastic steps. So, never let distress cause you to imagine negative things. Always be positive as a thinker. When you think about life's happenings, think positive. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. So many a times, when you are tired, when you are lonely, your mind harbors many fears. So don't try to give in to those fears. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. So not just should you maintain a disciplined life, you should also be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe. Remember that you are also a product of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. So whatever you see around you in nature and above, high above you, that is in the sky, you are also very much a part of it. A natural being. You are no less. Always say to yourself, I am also part of this world, part of this universe. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. So, always think that way, that you have a right to be here, and you will see that the world will offer you more and more surprises. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive Him to be. And always be calm and peaceful when you pray to God. Now, whatever God means to you, Him is written with capital H because it refers to God Almighty. You may conceive Him to be Ishwar, Allah, God, anything. Depends on your faith. Doesn't really mean that He is any different. You call Him by any name. You may call Him Bhagwan, you may call Him Allah, you may call Him God, you may call Him Ishwar, but then God is God. And whatever your labors and aspirations, notice that the spelling of labors is the American spelling because this is a piece of American literature that you are reading. So it's spelled Labors, but the actual British or UK English spelling should be Labors. So anyway, it means the same. And whatever your labors and aspirations, so whatever you are working hard for and whatever you are aspiring for, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. So when you are struggling to achieve something in life, always be calm and peaceful at heart. Inside you, there should be a calm spirit. Otherwise, your aspirations and your hard work will not pay off. You will become impatient. You will lose your patience and you will give up. So never do that. Have a calm and peaceful soul. With all its sham, drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. All the negativities in general, there are so many negativities in this world. Still, it's a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Always say to yourself, yes, there are negativities in life around you. There are indeed. But at the same time, you have to keep yourself cheerful and you have to always try to be happy. So that is what the poem is all about. So this is where we end. I hope I have been able to make you understand the entire text of the poem. Now you can read the detailed summary of these stanzas provided in your workbook. Plus you may have some notes or answers or hints provided for different long answers in your workbook. Please go through and please try to understand. And wherever you are stuck, I don't think you should have any problem, because this is modern English poetry. So still, if you have any confusion, you can always play this video again, or you can go to the portion where you have any difficulty in understanding. So you can just listen to me as I'm explaining so that you can understand it. So that's it. Thank you very much.